There are all these videos out lately about all these new cameras, and it's been a bit tiresome to me. So I debated making this, but I need to answer the questions I posed a couple weeks ago regarding these two cameras and which is going to work best for my situation. So I'm gonna go ahead with it, but I'll try to keep it focused and to the point and also focus on the end result, the thing that matters most, which is the photography and videography. To that end, this is absolutely not a comprehensive deconstruction of every contrasting feature between the A7 III and the X-T3. I'll put the things I love most about each of them and why it's not a super easy decision for me personally on the screen for you to review. Feel free to pause and go through them at your leisure if you want, but I'm not going to go into detail into those. Today's video is a follow-up to a video I did a couple weeks ago where I talked about the 3 things that the X-T3 would need for me to be able to use it over the A7 III, specifically for hybrid shooting. That's alternating between video and photo at the same event and or shoot. But before I get into that, let me be clear that this is me being as honest as possible. I'm doing this review for me, for myself. It's not for views or hype. It's not sponsored, and I didn't get flown to any fancy trips by anyone to look at them. I just honestly want to decide which of these two cameras is going to be my hybrid shooter going forward. And if that helps you also, awesome. So for those who don't follow the channel, here's a quick background. We shoot Fuji for documentary photography and for our portrait work. Fuji appeals to us the most out of any camera manufacturer for some very specific reasons that I've gone over 100 times, so I'll just put them on the screen so as not to rehash. Push pause in the video if you want. But I also do a ton of hybrid shooting. I shoot video and photo at my own events and also when I document my photo adventures. I have no desire to carry 2 separate cameras, one for video and one for stills. I need one system that does both extremely well and that switches between modes fast. But up until now, Fuji hasn't been able to do that for me. Even though I really wish it could, it'd be nice to just have one system. It'd save us some time and money. It'd save space in bags, decrease the cognitive load by switching in between user interface patterns between 2 systems, and it would make our post-production more consistent. But there are some reasons why I never felt like I could go all Fuji, even with the XH1. The 2 minor reasons were, 1, that the AFC couldn't compete with Canon and Sony, and 2, there was always this strange stepping iris thing with the auto ISO with the Fuji cameras. So let's address those 2 smaller issues right off the get-go. The first issue I've had in the past with Fuji is the autofocus. The good news is that the autofocus in the X-T3 is stellar and is very competitive to the A7 III. When testing up close on some product B-roll style footage, I can't see really any advantage at all in the A7 III footage over the X-T3. Both seem to be smooth and natural. Of course, the A7 III is more smooth with that ibis, it's probably worth mentioning. When shooting talking head style, it's common to bring a product up in the frame. The X-T3 continuous autofocus speeds can be adjusted to make it nice and snappy, again in a way that seems to do just as well as competing brands do. But the second issue I mentioned being a source of frustration in the past for me is this issue of the stepped auto ISO. Now, I know that Fuji is limited by its lenses when it comes to this smooth iris control, so I don't expect a miracle here. That is one reason that there is a market for those video-specific lenses, but I was hoping Fuji would at least be able to make auto ISO more smooth for us vlogger types. Unfortunately, it's just as bad as the X-T2. And that leaves only one remaining issue, one huge reason why I have a hard time going full Fuji for hybrid shooting, and that is the issue of stored settings. When shooting hybrid, I constantly bounce between photo and video modes. For anyone who has ever had to pull photo and video double duty at any event, you'll appreciate the need for stored settings. In addition to just being a really solid video and photo hybrid, the A7 III does switching perfectly. So in order for me to be able to ditch Sony, the X-T3 has got to give me a way to quickly switch between settings. Some have said, Andrew, we love the dials. Why would you suggest Fuji abandon the dials? Guys, I never said that. I love the dials too, but having tactile dials doesn't preclude Fuji being able to store settings independently of what the dials are set to. They do this all the time for other features, like changing the radial dials to use ISO or exposure compensation instead of the top dials. Some people prefer that. Or more importantly, for video silent mode, where you can manipulate all the settings via touchscreen interface. This last feature is what I really want to test. I know the XH1 has this ability, and I did try to use this as a kludge to move between stored settings and video settings when I tested the XH1 last time I was in San Francisco, but several had mentioned that you can actually use the joystick to manipulate these values and store them independently to photo, which I hadn't considered. That is the hack, that is the kludge that I want to test out, but I think that's going to require a lot of practice and muscle memory to see if it can really come close to the switching speeds I can get with the A7 III. So for the next few days, I'm gonna take this X-T3 out with me on a trip to San Francisco and use it the whole time. I'll be switching between photo and video, and by the time I'm done, hopefully I'll have enough experience moving between video and photo that I can make a final judgment call. Is this hack, as well as the other really cool video features and photo features that the x-t3 brings to the table, enough to push me over the edge to where I can move full Fuji for hybrid shooting? Or will I continue to use the very capable, very impressive A7 III? First world problems, I know. So before I answer that though, I want to show you a montage of what I'm able to capture on my trip, because at the end of the day, that is more important to me than this stuff anyway. But if you're less interested in my photo adventure and just want to hear my conclusions, you can skip to the timestamp on your screen now for my final thoughts. But for everyone else, roll film.
The power of it as it goes through a slight wisp of cloud. It's really comes more back to selfishness.
we're back. I hope you enjoyed the photos and videos I was able to capture in the few days that I was in San Francisco on business. I was able to get with a couple local guys, James and Cameron. Thanks for showing me some of the sites and going on a photo walk with me. And I was super happy with the photos I was able to capture whilst in San Francisco, and the x-t3 was a great companion in that process. So let's cut straight to the chase, because I know that's why you're here. After shooting hybrid with the x-t3 on this trip, using it as my only video and stills camera, again with the priority being switching speeds between those two mediums, I am more than a little bummed out to report that the x-t3 is just not able to deliver the UI experience that I need as a hybrid shooter to effectively do my job. Not like the a7 III can anyway. I want to be clear that if you plan on shooting in some sort of auto mode, whether that's full auto or just auto ISO or something, or maybe you only need to move a variable ND filter and you won't need to do any of the touching of the video settings in silent mode or otherwise, a silent shooting mode will work fine for you. It will do the job. It will store your settings, and if you don't need to move them, then great, it works perfectly. But I didn't find that adequate because I was in and out of shadow and light. Sometimes I wanted 30p, sometimes I wanted 60p, which necessitates a shutter speed change also if you want to follow that 120 degrees rule. And it was too fiddly and not tactile enough to change those settings effectively and quickly. It requires an extra step that you don't have to have on other camera bodies. There's also some other strange things, like if I'm in exposure compensation menus in silent shooting, like I was a few times, hoping to be able to change the exposure compensation in the middle of a pan, I couldn't do that at the same time as pulling focus. The manual focus control does not work for you if you're inside of silent shooting menus. So Fuji, if you're listening to me, here's my plight and my plea for you. I really want to sell my a7 III and only shoot Fuji. I really want to be able to recommend the x-t3 or the XH1 for that matter as amazing hybrid event and adventure bodies. And you're so close. There's just that one little matter of not being able to store those settings in a way that works for us who have to move quickly and who are concerned with not having to keep track of 3 different settings every time we move between photo and video. But the good news is that you've already built it. It's pretty much there. The silent shooting mode stores video settings. All you need to do is to make that work a little better for hybrid shooters. Just expand on it a little bit. So here's my design solution. Create a menu item which is a toggle entitled Stored Video and Dial Override or something like that. Then when that is enabled, allow us to assign the D-pad or the front and rear dials as aperture, shutter, ISO, and exposure compensation override options. And if you want to even go further, again, with that new toggle option enabled, you could then add those same settings to the quick menu. You already have the movie mode, just add exposure triangle settings to that quick menu and store that quick menu separate from the photo mode quick menu. If you could just do that, then that one thing would allow me to adopt Fuji as my one and only video and photo device and would make me a very happy Fuji consumer. And based on the comments I've received or posts I've read on forums, I know that I'm not alone in that. So hopefully Fuji gets that message somehow and that ends up being a really rad firmware update at some point in the future. That would be amazing. But anyway, my final decision for myself temporarily will be likely to hold on to the a7 III for events for now. Or if I'm doing like street photography in San Francisco, street video and photography, where I need to move fast in a hybrid manner. But if I'm shooting landscape or I'm in a situation where I can slow down a little bit and go back and forth between video and photo without having to be pressed for time, and I can think about what I'm doing and not worry about the fiddliness of the process. In those situations, I'm going to stick with the x-t3 for both video and photo, and I'll be very, very fine with that. But can't sell that a7 III, darn it all. Guys, I know that these are first world problems. It's not lost on me that just having the ability to shoot video and photo on the same device at all is a new novelty akin to like flying cars for those who grew up shooting in the previous generations. We are very blessed as creatives, and I feel giddy every time I get to pick up one of these devices and head out on a shoot. So please, let's keep that perspective as we keep the discussion alive in the comments. In short, remember, kindness before cameras. I'll talk to you again real soon.